As you may know by now, Iran has been vowing to attack Israel since the arch-terrorist Ismail Haniyah was taken out supposedly by Israel in Tehran last Wednesday. The question is, will that still happen, or is Iran just bluffing? Now here's the full breakdown of what has been happening here in Israel for the last 24 hours. I'm Josiah, and this is the Israel Guys. The situation is very tense here in Israel. As most people know by now, Iran has been vowing to attack Israel like they did back in April, except for on a much larger scale and in coordination with their proxies. Vowing to attack Israel in full force, and this is in supposed retaliation for the assassination of Ismail Haniyah, Hamas leader, one of the top Hamas leaders in Tehran, that happened last Wednesday. Now, Israel has not commented on this attack, but it is widely supposed and believed that Israel was behind this attack. Also very likely that Israel was behind this attack that eliminated Ismail Haniyah, the arch-terrorist from among the living. The question is, will Iran still attack? It's been now almost a week, about 5 days since this assassination happened, and Iran has been vowing to attack, and nothing of major scale has happened yet. So the answer is that yes, we do not know for sure what is going to happen, but everything is pointing to an Iranian attack sometime very, very soon. We do not know exactly when that will happen, but all the preparations on the ground and the things that we do know are pointing to an attack on Israel by Iran. Jewish breaking news reported yesterday that Israeli officials are gearing up for a possible multi-day assault by Iran, Hezbollah, and other Iranian-backed groups following the assassination of Hamas chief political officer Ismail Haniyah in Tehran on Wednesday. They anticipate an attack involving hundreds of missiles, rockets, and drones designed to overwhelm Israel's air defense system and its allies for at least 3 days. So the defense establishment here in Israel is anticipating a multi-day attack from Iran involving weapons that would be aimed at Israel. Now, nearly all major airlines have suspended flights to Israel, leaving Israel's airline El Al one of the only flights that is now flying directly from Israel to the U.S. and to European countries. The United States has moved an aircraft carrier, one of their aircraft carriers, and a carrier group. And yesterday, the U.S. Secretary of Defense ordered an additional squadron of F-22 fighter jets to the Middle East in preparation of defending Israel should Iran attack. So things are getting very, very serious. The U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, told his counterparts, G7 counterparts, told them that Iran could attack as early as Monday, which is today. So everything is very, very much pointing towards an attack. In the meantime, some Arab countries here in the Middle East, including Jordan and Egypt, I think right now they may be the only ones, but there are other countries that are involved in these talks, are working to calm Iran down, to try to lower the temperature of what is going on. And according to Khan News, they are urging Iran to lower the intensity of their attack on Israel. Now, mind you, they're not lobbying for Iran not to attack Israel. They're just saying, let's just lower the intensity of how hard you hit Israel, so we won't get involved, or so we won't be hit as well, which is a very likely could happen. Jordan being right next to Israel, Egypt being south, that could be involved in attacks as far as airspace is concerned, and even maybe some rockets or missiles falling in those areas itself. Now, despite these calls from some Arab countries to Iran to lower the intensity, lower the temperature, trying to calm Iran down, the Wall Street Journal just reported yesterday that Iranian officials have told Arab diplomats that Tehran is determined to strike Israel, even if doing so sparks a regional war. Iran is committed to attacking Israel, even if doing so sparks a war in the area, which a regional war in this area could look very, very serious and have very, very serious consequences.
It says, I will bring you in from the four corners of the earth, and people will know that you are my people and that I am your God.
Discover for yourself the miracle of the land and the courageous hearts of the people of Israel.
I am 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 Israel.
Visit IamIsraelFilm.com to begin your journey.
Available now on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download, I Am Israel is an epic film that will take you on a cinematic journey through the land of the Bible. You'll meet Jewish men and women whose very lives are a testimony to the promises of God. And you'll see with your very own eyes the miraculous rebirth of the Promised Land. Screened in over 10,000 congregations worldwide, it's the award-winning film about Israel made for the followers of Jesus. Click the link down in the description below. Now, speaking of what started all this, the assassination of Ismail Haniyah, which, by the way, is actually not really what started all this. What started this was when Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th and October 8th and 9th. I don't remember exactly the days when Hezbollah also attacked Israel, and they've been fighting a proxy war, a war of attrition, you could say, excuse me, not a proxy war, a war of attrition with Israel on Israel's northern border since October. Hezbollah has been fighting Israel since October, backed fully by Iran, as the entire world knows. So this is not actually what started the war, because Israel, in response to October 7th, took out Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyah, in an assassination, taking out this leadership, one of the masterminds behind the October 7th massacre. Israel eliminated him, right? So this is not exactly what started what's going on now, but it's currently what Iran is claiming to respond to by this prospective attack on Israel. On CBS's Face the Nation yesterday, White House Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner said some very interesting things and very disturbing things on the way the Biden administration views Israel taking out these terrorist leaders. Now, there were several that Israel took out last week. We talked in more detail about who they were and the different strikes by Israel in eliminating those terrorist leaders. You can go back and watch one of those shows. But Jonathan Feiner said this.
Part of why we think this hostage deal needs to get done so quickly is that in this context, when there is so much going on in the region and the risk level and the threat level is so high, there are always these external events that can make the negotiations themselves much more difficult. I think that's what the president was speaking to.
So he's giving this answer in response to make a comment on Israel's assassinations of these terrorist leaders. He says there are always these external events that make negotiations themselves much more difficult. So President Biden administration right now is saying that Israel's assassination of Ismail Haniyah and these other terrorist leaders, these Hezbollah leaders, is making it much more difficult to negotiate with these terrorists. And assassinating the masterminds behind deadly attacks on Israel, essentially, is what President Biden is saying, is assassinating these masterminds behind it is making it much more difficult to make a hostage deal, which, if you think about this logically, makes absolutely no sense. Because eliminating Hamas and Hezbollah's top leaders makes it much more likely to throw these terrorist organizations into chaos and to make them capitulate into some sort of deal or ceasefire agreement that Israel comes out on top of. If Israel takes out the leadership, then the people under them are going to be thrown into confusion, and it makes it much more likely that an actual deal will be reached that is beneficial for Israel and not the other way around. If these guys who have millions and billions of dollars, like Ismail Haniyah, and they don't even live inside of Gaza. They're not even on the ground operating there, but they still have political control. These guys are the ones that are making these deals with the Biden administration, or with Israel, with coordination with the Biden administration and other countries. These are the guys who are making these hostage deals. So you can imagine that none of these deals are going to be beneficial for Israel. These terrorists aren't going to give in to a deal that is actually going to come out good for Israel. The only deal they're going to give into is one that will be detrimental and very harmful to the state of Israel. So by Israel taking out these guys, it's going to make it much more likely for the next person that's become the leader, maybe somebody on the ground in Gaza, to actually capitulate and make a surrender or a ceasefire deal with the state of Israel. So that's a little bit more of the assassination of Ismail Haniyah. But besides this, the Hezbollah commander that was assassinated last week in Beirut on July 30th, Fouad Shukr. So this guy was responsible for the attack that killed, the attack in Majd al-Shams last week that killed 12 children. This guy was responsible for that. But not only was he responsible for that, he was also behind the bombing in Beirut in 1983 that killed 241 U.S. servicemen. So the Biden administration, if anything, should be thanking Israel and extremely grateful that Israel eliminated this evil terrorist from off the face of the earth. But no, instead they're still criticizing. Thankfully, right now, the Biden administration seems to be an actual practice putting forth defense measures and sending military aid to Israel in order to help them defend against a prospective attack from Iran. We'll see what actually happens as the things continue to unfold. But that's a little bit of what is going on the ground, how Israel is preparing, how Israel's allies are preparing, and the feeling here in the Middle East. In addition to that, not only is Israel fighting all these external threats, but they're also fighting Palestinian terrorism here inside of Israel's cities. Unfortunately, yesterday morning, there was a terror attack in Holon, here in Israel, the city on the coast, just south of Tel Aviv, that left 2 Israelis dead and 2 more injured, 1 seriously injured. Yesterday morning, Palestinian terrorist who was illegally living in Israel proper, outside of Judea and Samaria, he stabbed and killed 2 Israelis and wounded 2 others before he was shot dead by an Israeli policeman. The first victim who was pronounced dead on the scene was Rina Daniv, and her husband, who was also stabbed, is now in critical condition in the hospital. Please pray for comfort for the family and for recovery for her husband, Mr. Daniv, who is fighting for his life in the hospital. The second victim has actually just been named today as Avraham Somechi. He was in his 80s and died en route to the hospital. There was also another younger man, I think, that was moderately injured in this stabbing attack. Thank God, the Palestinian terrorist was shot dead on the scene and is no longer with us. As you can see, Israel is fighting a war, not just a war with Hamas in Gaza, and not only are they fighting a war with Hezbollah on Israel's north, and not only is Israel fighting a war for survival with Iran, Israel is also fighting an internal war with radical Palestinian terrorism inside their own cities. Guys, there is a lot facing the nation of Israel. We ask for your prayers, continued prayers for Israel, and please pray that the nation of Israel, the God who keeps Israel, according to Psalm 121, neither slumbers nor sleeps, that he would indeed protect the nation of Israel and give her victory over all those who try to annihilate God's people. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget to check out the I Am Israel film. Link is in the description below to see the beauty of the people in the land of Israel. Absolutely 100% recommend watching that film. Let me know what you think down in the comments below about what is happening, and tell us you're praying for the nation of Israel. Guys, as always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is actually happening here in Israel.